Forms, fleet imaging standards. Every single thing was something Blaze would walk in with ready to go, and every single thing was something I had never needed because my work spoke for itself. That same week, Amadeus showed up at my place after his last route. He said Blaze had been waiting by his truck, offered him 15% more and a truck with his name on it. I asked what he said. Amadeus reached into his front pocket and pulled out a piece of paper, folded and worn and soft at the edges. The paper he wrote on during his first week. He said, I told him I already work for the guy who taught me what this paper says. I had to turn away for a second. I told Amadeus what I wanted him to do. Reach out to every long-term customer, not to sell them anything, not to pitch. Call each one and ask one simple question. Is there anything we could be doing better? He was on the phone until almost 10 that night. I called Sylvester at the Henderson farm. He said, the new guy came by, gave me a brochure, color photos, told me everything was fine with my system. I said, did he tell you what fine looked like? Sylvester went quiet. Then he said, no, he did not. I said, I'll be out Thursday and walk you through every inch of it like I always do. He said, that is why I have not switched. Then Maeve told me Blaze had dinner with 2 of the board members. Not a meeting. Dinner. The 2 votes I would have counted on. I felt the ground go soft again. That night before the meeting, I sat at my kitchen table with the faded piece of paper from Gerald smoothed flat under the light. The same words I'd read hundreds of times. I thought about how Gerald never had someone show up and call his work outdated to the people who signed his checks. The lesson was never, don't fight. The lesson was, fight with substance. I spent that week building a binder, every service log, every emergency call sheet, every on-time arrival record, every holiday I worked, every note I had ever written about every property. Amadeus helped me sort it by year. We organized 15 years of showing up into a plain 3-ring binder from the office supply store. Amadeus held it and said, this doesn't look like what they're expecting. I said, good. The customer responses came back. Over 30 letters. Zuleika wrote that in all her years using different service companies, mine was the only one that ever remembered her dog's name. She said that might sound small, but it meant someone was paying attention. Sylvester wrote a full page about a night a few years back during a bad storm when I drove out at 10 at night, found a clogged line, cleared it, and then stood in the mud and showed him how to check for it himself so he wouldn't have to worry. He wrote that I didn't charge extra for the late call. I got to the meeting at 7:45. Blaze was already there. Suit, laptop, projector, a stack of printed folders with his logo on the front. He gave me a small nod, the kind that says I have already decided how this ends. Blaze presented first. Clean graphics, growth projections with arrows going up, photos of his fleet gleaming. He talked about modernization, digital scheduling, industry standard. In his entire presentation, he did not mention a single customer by name. Then it was my turn. I said, how many of you have had your systems serviced by my company? 3 of 5 raised their hands. I said, do you remember the last time I came out? An older woman near the end said, last October, you told me my baffle was starting to wear and I should plan to replace it in 2 years. You drew a diagram on the back of your invoice so I would know what the contractor was talking about. I said, I remember that too. I opened my binder. I told them what was inside. 15 years of records. Every route, every call, every holiday. I put the customer letters on the table. Over 30 of them. I said, I did not ask them to write these for this meeting. I asked them one question. These are what they sent back. Blaze said, this is sentimental, but the board is evaluating capability and infrastructure. I looked at him, then at the board. I said, he has been in this area for 6 weeks. I have been here for 15 years. He offered my best employee more money to leave. He told my customers I was going out of business. He had dinner with 2 of you before this meeting. The room went quiet. One of the board members who had dinner with Blaze looked at the table. I said, when your system backs up on a Sunday morning, who do you want answering the phone? Someone with a slide deck or someone who already knows your address? They voted in the room, 4-1. I kept the